You guys seem to have loved the Beast and Shadow 2.0 deck, so linked in the description is the first video where I upgraded this deck, and you'll find the full deck list and the full breakdown of that in that video. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at 4 matches where we go up against some pretty I guess meta and tough decks for this deck to deal with, and I'm going to show you, or attempt to show you, how I would play around it. So in this matchup here, we are going second on the draw, which isn't great against a Ruby Sapphire Popsicle control deck, and I've already outlined how I think this deck needed to evolve for the current meta in December 2023, and this person is playing the older version, which is still strong, but you're going to see some of the deficiencies with only relying on the Hiram in order to get your card draw off. You can see here the opponent is playing basically perfectly on curve here. They've got the 1-drop Popsicle, the 2-drop Grammatala, and the 3-drop Fishbone Quill for the ink ramp. Their hand is perfect. All they need now is the card draw. And if you don't have a Maurice Workshop or a Dinner Bell or a Hiram, you're just basically relying on one card in the deck. And if you don't see that, you're going to run out of gas really quickly. Our hand, on the other hand, was kind of bad. We didn't play on curve. We weren't able to play anything until turn 3. But because the opposing deck is slow to start up, we actually have a chance in order to, I guess, maintain board presence or start to establish board presence. And all the opponent is really doing right now is, just ramping up on ink, and they're running out of gas pretty quickly. They're running out of cards. They're ramping up on their ink with the Fishbone Quill, but it's all for naught. They end up letting going my Cheshire Cat, and I was actually like, that's totally fine with me. Give me the extra ink. Let it go with the Ruby Sapphire deck should only be used to out a really big threat when the ink count doesn't matter anymore. And it's really critical to understand that, because when you play Let It Go too early on, you're actually helping your opponent develop their curve, whereas playing it later on when everyone's already at like 10 or 11 ink, it's way less impactful. So here you can see my opponent play their last card. We've got the Beast Tragic Hero. This card is a unit in and of itself, as you can see here. The Tamatoa is a threat, but of course we've got ways to deal with that thanks to the Ring the Bell by putting some damage on the Tamatoa. So you can see the opponent has nothing. They have nothing at all. They are relying heavily on the Hiram engine. The Benja in this matchup, surprisingly enough, doesn't actually do all that much because the items, they just have too many. And I actually talked to somebody locally about this, where I said, you know, the item destruction against this deck doesn't really do all that much because they have so many low cost items. They can recycle their items. You actually want to cut off their card draw. So you want to keep track of how many Hirams they have, any other potential card draw sources like a Workshop or a Dinner Bell, and cut those off the best you can. This is where the Benja would be impactful if it could cut off a Workshop or a Dinner Bell. But as you can see here, it doesn't really matter because the opponent has Popsicles. Anyways, we're going to opt to keep the opponent on nothing and use our swords there. And this is once again what I talked about in the deck list video, where I mentioned a whole new world just seems to be counterproductive sometimes. It's nice for disruption, and it would be great to use against this deck if the opponent had their draw engine and had a ton of cards in hand. But now I'm running into the situation where I'm drawing multiple whole new worlds. I'm not obviously going to play it when the opponent's on 0 cards, and it's just like an awkward situation where I have these bricks in my hand, whereas they could be better utilized cards, you know, characters or other items that could be used here. The opponent gets 2 really good top decks though, despite no Hiram still, in the Tremaine and the Hades to keep them in the game. They're able to shut down my double Tragic Hero, which is pretty good for them. But man, the beast combos are just too good. You can see there Relentless is able to ready up and quest after you know, getting some damage on the opponent's card, and they top deck a Be Prepared, and I was like, whoa, what a tempo swing. We top deck a Tinkerbell. We kind of just have to play it because, you know, we're not just going to pass on nothing. And again, this is where a whole new world would be awkward. A Beast Mirror here, once again, would be so much better. So I think in my next video, if I make one on this deck, let me know in the comment section below if you do want that. I will be switching out the whole new worlds for a Beast Mirror, and let me know if you think that is a good choice to make. So we ended up questing with our Tinkerbell since we had one in hand already, and we drew our 3rd one there, which is really weird. But because I was like, yeah, go ahead and crash your Maui. I'll just play my next Tinkerbell and out your Maui, hoping that they would play something else that I could out as well with the Tinkerbell, but nope, they don't do that. But yeah, we're just in the passing game here, and clearly the opponent has more Be Prepareds. They haven't drawn Maleficent yet, apparently. Yeah, there's the Be Prepared at 15 ink. I don't know why I'm spazzing out with my mouse there, but we're on 15, not 15 ink, geez, 15 lore, and the opponent is like, okay, that's getting a little too close for comfort. They're going to use a Be Prepared. We drop another Tinkerbell with nothing on the opponent's board, and they once again use Be Prepared. I don't know what my mouse is doing here. yeah, I don't know, guys. I think I was on a sugar rush or something, or my mouse was bouncing for some reason. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, the Noi in this matchup is actually really strong against us because not only can it not be targeted by things like Let the Storm Rage on or Smash, but it also has Resist 1, which will allow it to survive a grab your swords, which is a really problematic thing. They finally get their hero engine rolling, and once again, this is what I talk about in my Ruby Sapphire video, which is probably linked in the description as well, or in the info card at the start of the video here. It's like these Grammatalas late game, they don't do anything. Like they're such a dead top deck here. Like you're better off playing late game threats, and this is why in my version I opted to take all that ramp out, because I'm like, late game it just doesn't do anything. And if you actually looked at the PAX tournament, the top 8 had like 6 Ruby Amethyst, 1 Amber Steel Song that ended up winning with the Flute, and 1 Ruby Sapphire, and that Ruby Sapphire list played like no low end cards. I think the lowest character drop was like a 3-cost Judy Hopps. So like you can see where the meta is shifting with this deck. Like you got to play your top end threats. Now the opponent has a Tamatoa on board. This is a problem because this card, if I can't deal with it, will put in a lot of work. I haven't been able to get my Cheshire Cat in rotation yet, which is a really big problem because once that's in rotation, they have to out it. Otherwise it just continue. Well, there it is right there. It will just continue to out their stuff. But at this point, I mean, I'm too far ahead. The opponent has already used all 4 of their Be Prepareds, so they really need to like lock down the board somehow. They have to try to take everything out, and good enough for them that they're able to do it because they're going to also ink this Maui in order to play a Teeth and Ambitions. And yeah, they just expel their whole hand to wipe my board, and that's not great because now I'm going to basically be forced to Whole New World depending on what I draw. And once again, talking about it over and over again, just those bricks in the Whole New World. And this is not good because the opponent likely drew into some of their top end threats now. Maybe more Hades, more Maleficents, at least no more Be Prepareds. But we're going to opt to double drop and put the opponent on. You have to deal with both of these cards because they'll both just quest for game. I'm putting them on being able to at least deal with one with a Maleficent. But my guess is they also need, they're only out here basically is like double Teeth and Ambitions that they can sing, and like a follow-up Maleficent or Let It Go, or a Maleficent and a Let It Go. They just need like 2 forms of removal here, and they have no more Be Prepareds, right? So they're digging with Develop Your Brain. They're going to go ahead and drop Gaston to dig some more, and I'm like, at this point you have 5 ink left. All you can basically have is a Let It Go, and unless you have 2 Let It Goes at this, you know, or I guess technically 2 Teeth and Ambitions as well, you've lost this game. And so the pressure was just too much. This deck is not really an aggro deck, but being able to kind of shut down the opponent and exploit the fact that they need their card draw allows us to win this game, and they're going to resign right here. Let's go on to the next match. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit, and once again I'm stuck in the same conundrum of having the Whole New Worlds in hand and not really being able to play them. Well, I don't have enough ink as of right now, but not being able to sing the Whole New Worlds is a really big problem. So again, Beast Mirror looks better and better in every situation I have these Whole New Worlds. Like I say, like I know how good they are for disruption when your opponent establishes control, but now that I think about it, I'm actually realizing this in real time doing this commentary. It's like I'm the control player. I'm the one shutting down the board. Maybe, yeah, I don't need the disruption of Whole New World. You know, they're the ones always trying to, you know, play catch up almost because I have board presence and I'm outing their stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of decks that give this deck a run for its money, like that Ruby Sapphire deck. You saw I started to struggle a little bit towards the end where they started to draw their top end threats. If I don't see my Cheshire Cat and have it survive, or my Ring the Bells, that card or that deck or those kinds of decks will do work against me. The reason I'm including this clip here is because this opponent had a very interesting deck in my opinion, and you would think Tiana low tier, not very good, but the resist +2 against steel just like usually is an auto win, right? Like I can't really deal with that. Thankfully, you know, Smash can get 1 point of damage through on the Tiana, and then I can Ring the Bell or Cheshire Cat it away. But in combination with the Queen, like the Queen plus Tiana just takes anything out, right? Because Tiana becomes a 5 body that doesn't take any damage really, because it has resist +2, and whatever you're weakening with the Queen is likely being reduced to 0 anyways. But even if it does have 1 or 2 points of strength left, it's not doing anything to the Tiana. And so at this point I'm just struggling, and I'm like, oh, I can't really deal with these Tianas here. But I'm going to utilize, and this is a great example of this, the Beast Relentless, because at this point I have to shift my game plan from, yes, I'm so used to being a control player and I'm pinging damage on your stuff, removing it from the field, to a point of, well, now I just need to try to outquest you or out aggro you, which you are rightfully probably thinking right now, Quantum, how the hell are you doing that? This Tiana quest for 2, they've got 2 on board, you can't deal with them, they're going to outquest you. And to a certain extent, that's right. And also, this is a version I was testing out with Chief Bogo, which I've cut because I just find the uninkableness of it not really the greatest, so I would not recommend it. And we are running the Cinderella package again, so yeah, this is again another reason why you want to run Cheshire Cat. So I was not running Cheshire Cat in this one. I went back to Cinderella to test. I don't know, I wanted to try to make the new cards that are like, you know, you get X effect when a Floodborn is played. So like I really like the Honest John for a Ruby, the one that makes them lose a lore whenever a Floodborn is played, and I like this one, Chief Bogo, that deals damage to every character when a Floodborn is played. But obviously in this matchup it's kind of useless. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and crash our Hook so that we can ready up our Beast again, use Tinkerbell, and I guess play a John after this, or not John, geez, a Robin Hood. And then we're going to go ahead and just end up questing with everything, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to race you here, and you actually can't deal with my Beast Relentless unless you have like another follow-up action, because as soon as you throw something into one of my cards, yeah, my Beast is going to ready itself, and then you can't take it out. So you can take out the rest of my threats, but I will be able, yeah, they play Hakuna Matata, which is cool, but at this point I realize it's game, because with the Robin Hood and the Beast Relentless combination, first of all, with what they have on board, they couldn't take out all of my threats, and then Beast would quest for 4 because I could Robin Hood something to ready up the Beast and quest again, and then just quest with whatever ended up surviving for game. So there you can see how I utilized the board state to my own advantage, and just realized my moon condition was basically utilizing the Beast Relentless. Now in this matchup here, the opponent starts off again going first with Pascal, and I believe they're on just like a Mim bounce deck. Maybe this is Ruby Amethyst, I don't exactly remember. Our opening hand though is not the worst. You know, you can't expect to draw Hook at the start of every game. It is really good going second first drop, but the Robin Hood is very strong. Once the opponent sees that, they're just like, yeah, let me go ahead and ink that Pascal, since it's just going to get pinged off since you're on steel. And this is, if somebody in the comment section of my previous video asked about how this deck works against Ruby Amethyst, and you can see here, they can't do anything if they have nothing to bounce, right? Like they need cards on the field in order to bounce and utilize their Mim cards, and they're not going to get to the ability to play multiple characters in a turn until very late game, at which point you have likely just aggroed them enough that, or controlled the board enough that you've outed all of their threats. So they do end up dropping a Maui here, and once again, just like the previous video, I quested with my Robin Hood when I probably shouldn't have, because that played into Maui on turn 5, so I should have been very much aware of that. But this is where, and again I talked about this in the deck list video in the previous in the video linked in the description, that the evasive Tinkerbell puts a lot of pressure on certain opponents depending on the matchup, and this is one of them for sure. They can't really deal with the evasive Tinkerbell until they get to 7, 8, 9 ink, where they can start dropping Maleficent. I guess Lady Tremaine could deal with it if it's the only thing, but yeah, be prepared and or Maleficent during that high end curve. And now the opponent is getting up there in ink. They are utilizing some of their Mim and Merlin combinations, but even with like the spell book and what they have on field, they're still a little slow. And yeah, this is like, they're getting their engine rolling here now. This is looking pretty strong for them. They've got their card advantage back. They're, you know, getting their spell book off every turn. And right now we're just like, okay, we've got the shift Tinkerbell, and this is where, you know, Tinkerbell is still hugely relevant. We're going to be able to wipe the entire opponent's board here. We're going to Robin Hood away the Maleficent, crash into the Madame Mim Snake in order to take out the Madame Mim Fox for the Tinkerbell ability. And just like that, we have full board control, but we are running the risk of playing into a Be Prepared. And this is where a whole new world against Ruby Amethyst, because I was a Ruby Amethyst control player back in set 1, is so important. If they ended up Be Preparing me there, that's totally fine, because they have to spend their whole turn playing that Be Prepared, and then on my turn I just use the wheel away everything, draw a fresh 7. I have some ink still to play, but I should be able, since I'm so far ahead in lore, to grind out the game unless they are able to drop multiple removal spells, and this deck doesn't do that. The bounce deck, they have some removal, but they're not like Ruby Sapphire where they're just like top end threats over and over again. So here you can see my opponent didn't even have the Be Prepared, and if you don't even have the Be Prepared, it's just like GG's. Beast Tragic Hero also being a unit once again. And this match is over. I don't know what I'm doing. I might as well just quest for game here. Yeah, there you go. Last match we're going to look at is not really a super interactive one. It's just showing you kind of how this deck can just, I don't want to say obliterate, but just deal with Amber Steel Song. This opponent played a little awkwardly though, so don't take this as like the definitive how this match goes all the time. But you know, with all of your actions that ping damage, like you play Let the Storm Rage on and stuff too, and Smash and stuff like that, like their Cinderella's not going to survive, their Flute isn't going to survive, because you just bend it away. Like you just slow them down at every turn. And skipping ahead here, the Simbas are dealt with easily too, like the Smash and the hooks and everything deal with that, the Robin Hood. And if they whole new world you, you're fine with that. And if you whole new world them when they do Rockstar Stitch combo, you're fine with that as well. So it's a super strong matchup in my opinion, but the opponent ends up resigning there. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you've liked this matchups or these matchups, please leave a like. I would appreciate it. And make sure you check out my other videos linked in the description. And if you enjoy Lorcana gameplay, make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, Quantum is out.